Hi, welcome to episode 259 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarns, and we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, December 30th. We are hurtling towards the end of the year, and I am coming to you today from a chilly Kansas City. The temperature dropped again last night, so it is in the 30s and 40s today and tomorrow, and we may even see a bit of snow. We have been bouncing around a lot. It was 65 degrees and sunny on Christmas Day, and we have gone up and down a couple times since then. So it's a little bit crazy here. How were your holidays? I hope that you had a wonderful time celebrating, if you do celebrate. Hanukkah started last week and is close to concluding, and if it isn't already concluded, I can't remember whether it started on Sunday night or Monday night. But happy Hanukkah if you celebrated, and I hope you had a wonderful Christmas if you celebrated that. We had a good time, lots of good food and hanging out, lots of crafting for me, and we have just been laying low since then. My husband and I both joined the gym actually right before Christmas because my husband is trying to run an Ironman next year. And for those of you not in the know about an Ironman, it is a triathlon, and specifically he will swim 2.4 miles, bike 112 miles, and then run a marathon after that. Yes, it's crazy. To answer the inevitable question, why, he decided it is something he wants to do before he is 50. He has been running for the last several years. He did a couple marathons this year, and he's been doing a lot of half marathons. Last summer, not 2019, but 2018, he did a bike ride across Iowa, which was about 400 or 500 miles in the course of a week. So he's pretty comfortable biking. Swimming is the only thing he hasn't done yet. And so he primarily joined the gym so that he could swim, but he dragged me along with him. So we have been relaxing other than getting out and going to the gym a couple times. And I have to say, even though it's not my favorite thing to do, going to the gym has been interesting because they have lots more equipment than we have here at home. We just have a treadmill at home. And so I have gotten to get on the bike and the rowing machine and a few other things. So here's to a fitter 2020. So that is kind of what we've been doing over here. And lest you think we've been in an entire health craze, we really have not. There has been tons of candy and pumpkin pie and lots of cooking. I cooked a bourbon molasses turkey, which was pretty good. We have some ideas on how to improve it, including letting it marinate for a little longer, and next year maybe making a gravy out of the molasses and the bourbon. And I roasted some fresh Brussels sprouts and squash in maple syrup and a little bit of olive oil, and that was like far and away the best thing that I made this Christmas. It was so good. And then at the end you toss a few pecans on top and just drizzle a little bit more maple syrup. Oh, it was so delicious. And I also made lasagna and a variety of other things, so there was lots of cooking and lots of dishes and lots of hanging out. So we are just kind of relaxing a little bit up through the new year. I don't know if you have plans for New Year's Eve. We do not. Wes and I will both work a little bit tomorrow, and then we'll be off for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then the new year starts proper. So starting on Thursday, we get back to full days at work. I've been putting in some half days and taking advantage of extra crafting time, so we'll go back to full days at work and planning for the new year. So just a little bit longer to kind of rest and relax and enjoy. So let's get into the podcast, and I'll talk about a bunch of different things. I have not actually done my year-end tallies yet, so I will have to bring that information to the next podcast, kind of about all the things that I've knit and spun. I just haven't looked at that yet. I'll probably do that this week. So today I am drinking blueberry mango tea. It is from my local tea shop, and it is in my Hershey's mug. I don't have anything to show you because it was a sample from a friend, and so it was in a Ziploc bag, and I finished it, which, yay, one more thing out of the tea stash, because I have plenty of tea in there, but it is delicious. I have had it before. And it is nice and fruity, and it's funny because I thought I was going to grab something warm and spicy because I usually like those in the winter, but I grabbed something fruity today. So let's talk about the things that I have finished. Top of the list and most excited about finishes are that I finished my Nanny Swaymo. Excuse me, I dropped something. I'm just going to grab that. A month too late, but I finished it last night, which was the 29th, and I am in love with it. I have not blocked it yet because I wanted to show you on today's podcast, and it does need a blocking to straighten out the lace, but this is the Night Out cardigan by Joji Locatelli. I knit mine it's a fingering weight cardigan top-down raglan with a nice lace panel. I knit mine in Anzula Dreamy, which is a merino cashmere silk base that I bought at TNNA this year for a steal, and it is just plain black, and I love it. It is just a basic black sweater, and I know I'm going to get a ton of wear out of it. I am really pleased with the fit, and I just had the sleeves left to do this week and knocked them both out. As you can see, there is this little bit of lace panel. I do need to block that so that will lay nice and open, and then it is just a raglan cardigan with nice long cuffs. I have all my ends woven in. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do a full wet block or just try and block the lace with the iron. I might just do that tomorrow because actually I'm going to sew a little bit tomorrow, and so I'll probably have the iron out anyway. So I'll probably try steaming it, but if that doesn't work, I will just do a full wet block. So I knit the size 38. It fits me nicely. The sleeves have a little bit more room than I thought they would, which is fine. My previous black sweater was store-bought and it was a little bit more form-fitting, but I am really, really pleased with this, and I put it on last night and Wes said, that looks nice. And he really doesn't, he usually doesn't speak up unless it's really bad or really good. So I think he liked this one. So that is my Joji Locatelli Night Out cardigan, Nanny Swaymo, done and dusted in time for 2019 to be over. I should say I made almost no modifications. The one modification that I made is that I did not do a button band, and that's because in practice, the black cardigan that I was sort of mocking this after, I never wore buttoned up, and I decided I didn't need buttons. It would just be a nice open front cardigan. Otherwise, I knit it per pattern using the called for needles and, like I said, the Anzula Dreamy. So, and I figured out some things after I started. The one thing that I figured out is that one of the skeins in my dye lot was quite a bit lighter than the others, and you can sort of tell when you see the changeover from the body to the sleeve. I don't think this will be a problem once I wash it and wear it for a while, but you can see there is actually sort of a line between where I finished the body and started the sleeves. So, and that is because I used different skeins for the sleeves than I used for the body. However, I alternated every couple rows on the body, which is the thing to do when you have hand-dyed yarn. I did not alternate on the sleeves, but the two sleeves skeins matched quite well, and they were both darker than, as you can see, the other one. They both have that line there. So, and the sleeves match each other quite well. So I don't even think alternating there would have been a lot to fix in that, although it looks vaguely stripy here. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, so that is my cardigan finished. And it looks like one sleeve is longer than the other. That's going to make me laugh. I'll have to see if I can block that out and fix that, or whether I'm going to have to go back and pull a little bit. It looks like just a very little bit, and I could have sworn I counted rows, but you know, things happen. So that is my sweater done and dusted. I'm so happy to have that done. That was one of the two FOs that I wanted to have before the new year, and the other was my hat, which I did finish. This is the Boosta Beanie by Gudrun Johnson, and it looks great here. It's funny because I think it looks subtler in person, but on camera the colors really just pop. This was a Shetland Wool Week hat a couple years ago, and I decided I wanted to knit it. I knit it out of yarn that I bought when I was in London this year. It was Jamieson's Shetland Spindrift. The main body color is raspberry in that pink. The kind of orangey lighter pink is Sunset, and the green is Laurel. and I knit it almost per pattern. I omitted one set of the triangles just because the hat was getting long, and I thought it was going to be too long for me, so it fits nicely. It's got just a little bit of slouch on it, and I haven't decided if I am going to put a pom-pom on it. I have plenty of yarn left over. That's cute. I haven't actually looked at myself in it. I haven't decided if I'm going to put a pom-pom on it. I might, and I'm glad that I stopped when I did, because as you can see, it is a little bit slouchy, but it would have been crazy slouchy otherwise. So the hat calls for 2 of the main color and 1 each of the contrast colors, and I only had bought 1 of the main color, so I ended up ordering 2 more, mostly because I was afraid that if I ordered 1 more and the color was vastly different, I'd want to go ahead and use the 2 new ones. I broke into the second skein just barely up at the top, just for like the last little bit of the hat. So technically I have enough yarn left over to knit a whole nother hat, but the other thing I thought about is that I might try to mock the pattern and make some matching mittens. So maybe that will be a project for 2020, but I finished this. I am super, super pleased with it. It did soften up a little bit in the wash. I don't think it will be too itchy for me, so I am excited to have that done. Just hats are perfect for instant gratification, and once I really started on it, I knocked it right out. So those are my 2 finished objects. Now, I had shown you some stuff that I wanted to cast on, and some of it I did, and some of it I didn't, and some of it needs to be cast on this week. So let's talk about what I'm working on now. One of the things that I had showed you last week was some sock yarn for my Christmas Eve cast on, and I did indeed cast on for Christmas Eve, and I have a little bit of my sock, just a few inches, and this is, the yarn is by Stranded Dye Works. It is her holiday colorway Gingerbread House, and I have her, this is her label, Stranded Dye Works, and it is her 80/20 Superwash BFL nylon base in the colorway Gingerbread House, and you can see that there. And it came, I opted to buy the coordinating red mini skein, so I went ahead and did the cuff. And the pattern that I am doing is the Coffee Talk socks by Tracy Millard. She is one half of the Grocery Girls, and this was actually on my Make 9 list for 2019, and so I am sneaking it in at the end of the year. It will lap over into 2020, but I really, really, really wanted to make these socks with a kind of a speckle dyed with a mini, with a contrasting mini, which is how Tracy knit them. And so, excuse me, I am calling these my Christmas Talk socks. So I will be working on these over the next couple weeks. My hope is to finish them fairly quickly, although I have some other things that I'm getting involved in, and I'm pleased with them so far. The pattern is a pretty simple repeat once I got it down, and it's just remembering to do the right stitches at the right time. That's all of knitting. I go back and forth because I really, really wanted to knit these socks. I really like the pattern, and sometimes I really just like knitting plain round and round socks, and so I went back and forth as to what I was going to do, but I decided for my Christmas Eve cast on socks I would do a pattern. So I'm going to work on those. That's just the first sock. I don't have too much work in there because I was working on finishing my sweater. And I did not intend that I only cast these on Christmas Eve, and I did not intend that I would finish them. Usually I tend to finish my Christmas Eve cast on socks in the first couple weeks of January, and that is totally fine with me. So I'm going to work on those, and then if I have enough yarn left over, I have one of 2 projects in mind for them, and I'll talk about that in the future. So the other thing that saw a little bit of work this week, and I had actually mentioned it in the past, was I did cast on for a roundy roundy sock, and this one because I needed something that did not have a pattern for car trips and various other things, although technically I think I can take my Christmas socks in the car. This is going to be a sock for Miss Roxy. I usually knit Roxy and Miles Valentine's Day socks, and I had a skein of its Knitterly Things. It's her Vesper sock yarn, and I believe it's the 100% Superwash Merino base with no nylon in it, and I cannot tell you what colorway this is because I don't remember. I usually put the tag in the middle, and for some reason I think I took it out. I will have to see if I can find it, but I had it caked up, and I know that I knit when I knit my Snug as a Mug cup cozies, I knit one out of this one to show how it would look in self-striping sock yarn. So I know I've used about 15 or 20 grams of this skein, but I have plenty left for socks for the children, and my hope is to get a pair for each of them. So I cast on and I started Roxy socks, and there's a little bit more variegation in these than there usually is, so I don't know if I bought this as like a discounted skein, but it's got red and kind of this cornflower blue and a teal, which is not quite showing up that right in the camera. It's much bluer, and then a purple and a dark like Christmassy forest green and red, and then I'm back into the blue. So I am knitting those for Miss Roxy. I am just about to put a heel in for her, and then I will continue down the foot, and hopefully I will get socks for both children out of this set, and they'll have matching socks for Valentine's Day. I don't know why I got in the habit of doing something for them for Valentine's Day. In general, I knit for them for their birthdays, and I knit for them for Christmas. And I guess because their birthdays are in October and Christmas is obviously November, December timeframe, I think I decided I wanted to send a little something for Valentine's Day. And I do know that one year I sent Roxy her first chocolate when she was about 18 months old. I sent her a little chocolate heart in there. And every year since then, I've done Valentine's Day packages for the kids. And I usually knit them a little something like a pair of socks or a little stuffy. And then I put in a little bit of chocolate for them to share, just a few pieces. And then maybe a little toy or something fun, like a little notebook and some crayons, or just a little something. And it's just one of these things that I've gotten in the habit of doing. And so my plan is to do it again this year. So I'll need to work on these before February. So those are what's currently on the needles. I also showed you some beautiful Zen Yarn Garden yarn, and I am going to start my cast on probably this evening for a dotted raised shawl in that. And that is a sample that will be going back to Zen Yarn Garden, and then they also have some more yarn on the way to me, and those are the first two samples of the new year. So I have one more thing that is not knitting but not spinning. It is actually crocheting. And you know that I don't crochet that much, but it's kind of interesting. Right as Christmas rolls around, I always get kind of inspired to either work on my Scrappy Ripple crochet along blanket, or some other blanket project. I think it's just because it's cold outside, and January and February is pretty gray and dreary, and it gets dark early, and I always find the couple weeks leading up to Christmas really charming, even though it gets dark early and it's cold. But after Christmas, it feels kind of like a slog till spring, which is funny because technically the solstice and winter start around December 21st, 22nd. So technically we still have almost all of winter ahead of us. But I find January and February to be good blanket working months. And several Christmases ago, I put a kit on my list. And I don't know if you're familiar with, and now I've kind of crumpled the paper so it looks a little loved. I don't know if you're familiar with Lucy of Attic 24. She is, she got her name because she writes a blog that's kind of notes from the attic, and she crafts in the attic of her little bungalow in the UK. And she is a crochet maven, and she does all kinds of really cute, whimsical crochet items, whether they be garlands or leaves and wreaths or blankets. And one of the things that she has done in recent years is she has worked on crochet blankets in various patterns and put together kits of yarn that are absolutely a screaming steal. So the kit that I asked for Christmas a few years ago, because I really liked the colors, was the Woodland Blanket Cal. And she is Lucy of Attic 24, and if you Google Attic 24, you will get her blog. And like I said, what she does is she works on these blankets and she puts together kits of the yarn and works with the yarn manufacturer so that you can purchase the kit. And so this is the Woodland Blanket by Attic 24, And she said the yarn pack has been inspired by my walks in the autumn woodland and the rich colors of the trees at this time of year. I've balanced vibrant autumnal shades with cool blues and silvery grays to create a harmonious color palette inspired by nature. This was actually her crochet along for January and February 2018. So I must have gotten it for 2017 for Christmas. And the entire blanket, this is what she kind of does, the whole stripe all the way through the blanket. And then the yarn that she uses is Stylecraft. And it is a UK-based yarn. It is Stylecraft DK, available at stylecraft-yarns.co.uk. And it is 100 grams of a DK weight, 100% premium acrylic, 322 yards. So this is what it looks like, double knit special by Stylecraft. And basically what I bought was, or what was bought for me, what was purchased for me, was a kit in all the colors that I need to make the Afghan, and that is 15 skeins of Stylecraft in all her different shades to make this beautiful blanket here. So I decided that I wanted to pull it out and make it. I don't know why, but I just got a wild hair about a week ago that that was what I wanted to do, and that was what I wanted to cast on. And I wasn't supposed to cast on anything else until I finished my previous 2 projects, and I really only missed that by like a day. I cast the blanket on when my second sleeve had just a couple inches left to go. I cast it on, sorry, excuse me, I started it 2 days ago. And since then I have done 3 colors, and I plan to do more this evening. So you will only get just a little bit of this pattern. But this is what it looks like. And it is a crochet based feather and fan, so it's going to ripple. And I started with the color lime green, and then I moved to, let's see. So one of the things that she suggests, and so I'm sort of doing it, and it lets me see everything, is she suggested that, so you have all these skeins of yarn and you're going to take the labels off them to work with them. So she suggested you make yourself a color card, and I just took a little bit of leftover cardboard, and so I am attaching my colors there. So I started with the lime green, and then the kind of greeny blue is cypress, and then this one is meadow, and my next colorway is mustard, so that will be more of a yellow. So those are the colors I've used so far. Well, and mustard isn't on here yet. So I have lime, cypress, and meadow. And each of the, well, not the lime, well, technically sort of, each color is 2 rows, and so I will be working those, and my plan is to work at least 1 row a day if I can't crank out 2, and I believe there are 105 color stripes in the blanket, so that means that, or sorry, I want to crank out at least 1 color stripe a day, and so at max that will take me 105 days to complete, but I'm hoping it will work up a little bit faster than that, but that will see me through this winter. So that is what I have started, and I am excited to work on it, and I have mustard pulled out for today. I am using a 4mm crochet hook, which is a G, which is what is recommended for the pattern, and I am working up. The bag of yarn will result in, I assume with a little bit left over, at the appropriate gauge, a twin size blanket, which is 4 foot by 6 foot. And you can make them bigger if you have more bags, but I only have 1 bag. And oh, what I was going to say is that the yarn is a screaming deal because it is about 28 pounds for the whole bag, and that is 15 skeins at 300 yards a skein. So that is a lot of yarn, and of course crochet eats more yardage, but my plan is to work this blanket up, and I haven't decided who the blanket will be for yet. I have a variety of ideas, and I just want to see how I feel about it. Originally, I really wanted the kit to do it for myself, but of course, as you can see, I have a variety of blankets in my household, and I have several on my couch. So I'm not sure that I necessarily need another blanket. I had thought about, the blanket kit was a gift from my mother-in-law, and so I had thought about turning it into a blanket and giving it back to her next Christmas as a completed gift. Then I thought about maybe buying a second pack and doing one each for Roxy and Miles, because Roxy at least has completely outgrown her baby blanket, and this one will be a larger blanket that would see her through all of her middle years and maybe even college, especially since this one is acrylic and will be super easy to wash and care for. And my thought was that maybe I would buy a second kit and do one for Miles as well, or this one might be for Miles and the other kit might be for Roxy. I haven't decided yet. And then the final thing is that Wes has a cousin who is getting married in April, and so Wes said, you know, you could do it for them. So I haven't decided who it's for yet. For now, it is just for me, for the enjoyment of working on my crochet and watching these beautiful colors come together. And I am doing it exactly per pattern, which means I'm following her color stripes and everything, and mine will look like hers, just because I decided that's what I want to do. And I don't know, I'm having fun. So the other thing that I was joking about the other day is I think that if I complete a blanket like this, and I had to learn some new stitches and some new techniques for this, that I think I'm going to have to call myself a crocheter in addition to knitting. It's not that I have not wanted to be called a crocheter, it's just that in general I don't think my crochet skills are that great. I have a harder time reading crochet patterns, I always have to look up the stitches, and I have a really hard time looking at my crochet in general and reading it the way I can read my knitting. Like, I can look at my knitting and know if a stitch is wrong or if the patterns aren't lining up, and I don't always get that when I do crochet. So, but that is one of my things in the new year, and like I said, I'm just always in a blanket mood at the end of the year, and I am excited to work on this. So I will be bringing this and updating you. You will probably see it a lot for the next couple months as long as I continue to work on it. And so that is living in this huge bag that actually came from them. It's really a nice gift to sort of wrap it all up together and give it as a project. So that is what I'm working on there. Let me take a sip of tea and we'll talk about the 2 spins, and then I'll be done and let you go. So one of the things that I did the week or two before Christmas, and I talked to you about it and showed you a little bit, is I got back to my spinning wheel. And the yarn that I spun up is Hello Yarn. It is, I believe, a Tarhi. I don't know why I'm so bad at this. I keep looking at it but not being able to tell you. And it is in the colorway Bee Eater. And this is applied, and but it is not washed yet. I brought it in to show you. So I expect it will floof up a little bit more. It's probably a sport to DK to worsted weight in various parts, but I think I got some decent yardage. I think I probably got like around 300, 350 yards. And it is squishy and soft and beautiful, and these colors remind me of spring. And this will be going up in my Etsy shop, so if these are your colors. I spun this as a fractal, and it is greens and yellows and pinks, and I just really like it. I will be washing it tonight, so it will probably go up a little later this week, and I'll post some photos on my Instagram so you'll be able to see it. So the next braid that I pulled out, and I showed you this last week, is Hummingbird Moon on Etsy, and this is a superwash Tarhi, and it is beautiful in shades of teals and purples and lots of whites, and it is called Spellbound. And this is the second half of the fiber. I've already spun up the first half. I doubt I will finish this for this year, but my guess is it will be the first finished spin of January. I will probably finish it before I speak to you next. And this fiber was a gift actually from my boss earlier in the year when she went to a fiber festival. So this one I'll be keeping for me, although I don't know what it will become, but it is superwash. It might become something for the children, or it might be something for me. I just don't know. And it's spinning nice and thin and beautiful, and it's just got all these great colors in it. It's got teals and yellows and purples and dark blue and little splotches of pink and red, and it's really getting muted out with the white, but it's really super pretty, so I am excited about it. So that is kind of what I have to show you for today. We still have the last few days of the gift along going on. That is, if you made something for someone for the holidays or made something for anyone who is not you, that will go on until tomorrow evening, December 31st at roughly midnight, 11:59 your time. And I will announce prizes for that. I have enjoyed seeing what you've been crafting for others. And on January 1st, which is Wednesday, we will kick off the Selfish Craft Along, which is make something for yourself in the month of January. As with the gift along, all crafts are welcome. That is knitting, spinning, sewing, crocheting. I'm trying to think what else. Weaving. Craft something fun for yourself. Take some time to just enjoy the season, or cuddle up if it's cold outside and work on something that makes you happy. That will run from January 1st through January 30th. There will be prizes for that as well, and I will start a thread so you can start posting in there. I don't know what I'll make for myself in January. The crochet blanket is certainly going to make me happy. Maybe I will finish my socks. Whips that are partway done, if they're less than 50% can count. And maybe I'll just do another instant gratification hat. So I have given some thought to kind of the year in review and what kinds of things I might like to make next year. I don't think I'm going to do a Make 9 because my Make 9 wasn't really terribly successful this year. Out of the 9, I think I have 5 projects either completed or on the needles. I did Party Up and Getting Down socks for my Christmas socks last year, so I completed those in January. I did the Sizzle Pop Brioche shawl, which I completed, I think, in the spring. I am working on the Boxy by Joji Locatelli, and I will not finish that this year, but my plan is to maybe pick that up this month and work on it and try and finish it going into 2020. The Coffee Talk socks were on there, which I just cast on for my Christmas socks, so those will be done hopefully in the next month. And I think there was one other that I had put on there that I either knit or I know there were several that I did not knit. There was a sweater that I did not knit. There was a hat that I did not knit. There was a cowl that I intended to re-knit from some yarn that I pulled, and I did pull it, but I didn't re-knit it. I can't remember what the last one was. So I don't think I'm going to do a Make 9 in 2020. That said, I will definitely make 9 things in 2020. I went and looked at my Ravelry count for projects, and my Ravelry count for projects is not 100% correct because sometimes I group things together and I don't enter. For instance, if I make Miles a hat and mittens, sometimes I don't do 2 separate projects. Sometimes I'll just call it Miles Winter Set. But I think I did about 53 or 54 projects in 2019. So I think my 2020 goal will probably be the same. I think my goal for last year was 50, and that's probably going to be my goal for this year. Now that does not include spins. That only includes knit and crochet projects. In terms of spinning, in the last several years, the last couple years, I have not made my goal. Originally, my goal was to spin 13 pounds a year, and that was basically a braid of fiber a week, and I have definitely not made that this year. I know I did like 12 pounds in 2012, and I might have done 13 pounds for a couple years after that. I definitely did not do 19 pounds in 2019. I think when all was said and done, I'm up to about a little over 9 pounds, 9.5 pounds, which is good because it far exceeds what I brought in this year because I have stopped stashing fiber as much since I'm not spinning it as much. And overall, I did do some statistics on yarn I took in versus yarn I sent out this year, and I came out ahead in everything. But I think basically my goals for 2020 are to knit more from stash, spin more from stash, work on some projects that I've been dying to do for a long time. I'll be doing a lot more sample knits, and just craft what makes me happy. Oh, and I do know the one other thing I would really like to do this year is I would like to do more charity knitting. In particular, I would like to knit a bunch of hats for Hat Not Hate. So I need to toss the stash and pull out any blues that I have and maybe purchase a few more blues. So I will be purchasing some blue yarn this year, I am sure, but my plan is to do some more charity knitting. So I think that's it for the last podcast of 2019. I hope that you are having a wonderful holiday season, enjoying some time off with your family, enjoying the winter weather if that's where you live, or the summer weather if that's where you live. And I have enjoyed spending this year with you. I know I don't say it enough. I appreciate that you continue to come back and watch the podcast and spend some time with me and participate in the Ravelry group and comment on Instagram. And I love chatting with you. And I hope that I will see you in 2020. I want to wish you and your family and your friends a very happy and healthy 2020. And let's get crafting. So I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next year. Bye!